Thank you very much, Ronnie. And it's great to be back here in Kilkenny once more. The National Air Event is firmly established in Kilkenny, so great to be back in this historic city. And thank you all for attending, and also particularly like to thank Thomas Henriks, the Deputy Head of the Commission's Clean Air and Urban Policy Unit, who I know will be zooming into us in a few minutes. As Ronnie said, today's National Air Event is titled Open Air Cafe, and we're going to be hearing from many of our speakers on the newly revised Ambient Air Quality or CAFE Directive, focused on the criticality of clean air. So first, I'd like to bring you back, and in many ways I'm speaking to the converted, but bringing back to you why air quality is so important. And we all know that poor air quality impacts our health, and this is an area where the environment and health are inextricably linked. And when we talk about protecting the environment in the context of protecting air quality, what we really mean is we're protecting our own health. And the most recent World Health Organization guideline values for air quality are far tighter than previously, and ultimately reflect the ever-growing knowledge and body of evidence of the health impacts of even lower air quality or air pollutant emissions. So we now know more than we ever did before. We know that even at very low levels of air pollutants, this impacts on our health. And the WHO has identified poor air quality as the single largest threat to public health. Hence the importance of the work that we are all and you are all doing here today. Poor air quality is linked to premature death and life-limiting conditions such as dementia, type 2 diabetes, and neonatal mortality. Long-term exposure to particulate matter contributes to the risk of developing cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, as well as lung cancer. And again, and it's been stated many times, but I think it's really important to recognise the work of the European Environment Agency and them highlighting that approximately 1,600 premature deaths every year in Ireland are caused by air pollution. And in fact, Irish research has also shown the impacts of poor air quality on older citizens and the increased incidence of stroke due to air pollution. So this is a pollutant that has such significant impacts for the health of everybody, but in many ways the most vulnerable in our society. As you'll also be aware, the EPA released our State of the Environment Report 2024 in September. And in that, which is really a snapshot of the environment at a particular point in time, as well as looking at trends and changes, but in our air quality report, we called out 4 key messages. The first is that while air pollution has reduced over recent decades, our understanding of the level of which it impacts health has grown. The World Health Organization states that there is no safe level of air pollution. Our second key message is that currently Ireland is not meeting the guidelines set by the WHO for multiple pollutants, including fine particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide. We can actively improve our air quality by changing to more sustainable forms of transport and heating. Our third message is achieving Ireland's ambition set out in the Clean Air Strategy to move towards meeting the health-based WHO air quality guideline limits will be challenging, but will ultimately have significant and positive impacts on health. A roadmap of actions is required to deliver on the overall ambition and the 2026 and 2030 interim targets. And last but not least, in relation to ammonia, which, as well as impacting on ecosystems, contributes to the formation of secondary PM2.5. With regard to ammonia, Ireland is non-compliant with the EU reduction target and will remain so in the short term. Meeting the 2030 emission reduction commitment is dependent on fully executing all known ammonia abatement measures at farm level. So those are the key messages from the State of the Environment Report. But there's a lot happening with regard to air quality, and I know that Irene and Thomas will talk about more later in the session, but just with regard to some of the work of the EPA, and first of all, around communicating air quality and the importance of air quality. And the EPA has been involved in Life Emerald and our air quality network improvements over the last number of years. So it's long been recognised that just providing more data to the public is not sufficient. What we really need to do is make the data accessible, targeted, and ultimately as relevant to people as possible. So since the last National Air Event, the EPA has fully embedded Ireland's first National Air Quality Forecast, providing greater information to the public regarding expected air quality in Ireland for the next 3 days. The Air Quality Forecast provides an important health and air quality resource for everyone. But again, and looking at those people that are more disadvantaged, it's especially for those who are affected by poor air quality, including people suffering from respiratory diseases such as asthma. This year, the EPA has also launched 2 other key deliverables under the Life Emerald project. First of all, it's hourly updated air quality maps, which provide estimates of air quality across the country between monitoring points. We will only ever be able to have so much monitoring and monitoring data available, but actually having these maps that join up the dots effectively is critical. And these fill in the gaps between our stations in real time every hour, so giving much more localised air quality information to people. In addition, in the context of the Life Emerald project, high-resolution maps are provided annually at city and national level, meaning that everybody can view the annual modelled average air quality in their local areas. So again, moving much more from a national to a local area information. We've also successfully expanded the National Ambient Air Quality Monitoring Network, and we've been talking about this for the many years that we've had this conference in Kilkenny. We had talked about the ambition the EPA had about expanding the monitoring network. This has been funded, and I have to recognise in the context of Irene being here, funded by the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communications, because it's cost a significant amount of money. But what it's done is increased access to real-time air quality data and monitoring stations across the country. Under this monitoring programme, the EPA and our partners have, since 2017, almost quadrupled the number of air quality monitoring stations, from 29 up to 115. The monitoring network provides consists of monitoring stations located in every county in Ireland, providing real-time quality data, and has also allowed for us to be able to develop our modelling and forecasting capabilities. So this greatly expanded network has been achieved through partnerships with other organisations, and in particular, I would like to thank the local authorities, also our academic partners, and many in the public sector and semi-state bodies that have worked with us to ultimately secure the success. We are now nearly complete with regard to the monitoring stations, and we now have one of the best air quality monitoring networks across Europe. And what is that showing us, I suppose, because ultimately it's one thing having the investment, but what are the outputs of that? And in September, we published our annual air quality report. And again, we've changed the format of this and kind of brought, I suppose, significant innovations into the way the report has been developed. So it's fully interactive format, it's got videos, it's animations, it's got graphics, all designed, because it's not doing it just for the sake of it, all designed to engage and inform as wide a public audience as possible, to make it interesting, to make it relevant, and to encourage people to look at the report itself. And the report shows that while air quality in Ireland compares favourably with many of our European neighbours, there are still concerning localised issues which result in poor air quality. While Ireland met our EU legal air quality limits in 2023, monitoring results were higher than the more stringent WHO air quality guidelines for a number of pollutants, as I mentioned at the beginning, particulate matter, nitrogen dioxide, but also sulphur dioxide and ozone. The reason for that is burning solid fuels in our towns and villages and traffic in our cities. So there's no change with regard to the causes of the pollution. It's still coming down to how we heat our homes and mobility, how we move about the country. And from a health perspective, we must focus on fine particulate matter. At 80 monitoring stations across the country, the results were above the WHO air quality guideline level. The dominant source of PM is the burning of solid fuel in home heating. Levels recorded were particularly high during the winter months, as would be expected, when increased use of solid fuels such as coal, turf and wood impacts negatively on air quality, and especially in the smaller towns and villages. So any move towards cleaner modes of home heating will have subsequent improvement on air quality, as well as the co-benefit with regard to greenhouse gas or climate impacts. We now have regulations on the use of solid fuels requiring that all coal products now sold must be low smoke and all wood sold must have a moisture content of less than 25%. This is a really positive step towards air quality, but it has to be supported by strong inspection and enforcement campaigns at a local level so that we ensure that there is implementation of this legislation. Turning now with regard to citizen science and continuing that theme of public engagement, we're delighted with the continued success of our large-scale citizen science air quality project, focusing on nitrogen dioxide, clean air together. It's taken the citizen science campaign has been successful in Dublin, in Cork, in Galway. We're now in our 4th campaign in Limerick City, and the results of that are going to be presented early in 2025, giving us granular detail on NOx levels right across Limerick City. So this project has been incredibly successful, huge amount of public interest in it, as well as media interest. So it's been a really positive way about highlighting air quality, the importance of air quality and potential issues. So following completion of Limerick, we're now moving on to the next phase of the project into Waterford in 2025. So I think I stood here last year encouraging people to get people in Limerick involved, so I'm going to be saying the same about Waterford and getting people in Waterford involved and getting the public there interested and engaged. We also have the GLOBE programme, where school students measure nitrogen dioxide concentration at their schools, and this is continuing to go from strength to strength, with now over 200 schools nationwide participating in the latest 2024 campaign. This includes a school from every county in Ireland, again, so it's representative right across the country. And we've really worked very closely with An Taisce's Environmental Education Unit in the coordination of this programme. It is a fabulous programme, and it means that school kids in Ireland can link in with other school children right across the world. So it has been an incredibly positive initiative. We started a number of years ago thinking we might try it, pilot it with a few schools, and so fast it's just become embedded in the overall An Taisce programme. So, as I said, incredibly successful. So as I close, because I'm really interested in hearing the department and also the EU perspective, it is really important once again to consider that there's no safe level of air pollution. We have a clean air strategy in Ireland. The ambition is to move towards the WHO air quality guideline levels by 2040, with the first milestones of meeting interim targets in 2026. The revised CAFE directive also sets a similar trajectory towards compliance with the WHO guidelines at EU level. And as I said, we will hear more about that imminently. And while the positive impact on health will be significant, we also recognise that achieving the WHO interim and final guideline limits are going to be extremely challenging. But ultimately, it is worth delivering on for all of our health and well-being. And as well as improving our health, effective action in air pollution also clearly links with urgent need for climate action. Therefore, we need to protect and sustain Ireland's air quality and aim to meet the highest international standards in the context of climate change, implementing solutions that address climate can have a co-benefit on air quality and vice versa, and it is really important to look at those co-benefits. Air quality can be improved by changing our own behaviour at an individual level, but also collectively, so that we burn fewer fossil fuels to heat our homes and businesses and fuel our vehicles. Central to improving air quality will be increasing public awareness of the impacts that our home heating choices and modes of transport have on air quality, and facilitating and supporting behavioural change to improve air quality and our health. So we really welcome the revised CAFE directive. It points the way towards improved air quality from a policy perspective, and the ultimate adoption of newer, tighter WHO guidelines across Europe will signal a commitment by member states to the improvement of air quality and health improvements. And we look forward to working together with all of you and continue to play our part effectively and cogently communicating with the public the importance of addressing air quality issues. Thank you very much.